Hola, Madridistas. Welcome back to another post-match review, the first of the 2023 year. I'm here with Jadud. Another victory. Happy New Year for you, Jadud. With a Copa del Rey against a team in the fourth division. It, a win is still a win, yeah. And for sure, we need to start this year like we ended the last with a victory,
Mhm.
with a clean sheet, and probably nothing more to add to this game. It was a very physical game, a
Yeah.
very tough, rough game.
Mhm.
And what are your general opinion of the game?
The first thing I noticed was that the Eden Hazard transfer cost probably more than their whole stadium and their whole team, which was good to see. I checked the stadium capacity and it was 7,000. That was shocking. The pitch quality is not something that we used to, but it was good to see a team in that position hold their own, at least until some time against a team like Real Madrid. It's a grassroots thing. It was kind of wholesome until a point where it got irritating that we weren't doing the things that we're supposed to do. As Real Madrid, you're expected to deliver big things, and we weren't doing that for much of the game. Bit of happiness at the end, though. Finally, scoring through Rodrigo and winning the game. Not exactly putting it to bed. A 1-0 victory isn't putting anything to bed, except maybe for us to sleep because that's how boring it was. But yeah, that those are my first impressions.
I mean, the time zone difference would make a lot of change for me if I was you. I will probably sleep by now if it wasn't like 4 p.m. to me. Like I can imagine watching this game and not falling asleep because, like you said, the first 45 minutes were tough, and the second 45
Not
were
much better.
somehow better, but
Maybe a little bit.
like so stressful. But I mean, you and I watch a lot of Bundesliga,
Mhm.
and we used to watch, the Pokal
Oh yeah, the
when
DFB Pokal, yeah.
someone like Bayern plays with a fourth division team and they
Oh yeah,
score like 20-0. You
yeah.
know, there's never gonna be the case for us. You know,
It's just
no
not
matter how
meant to
it's
happen. No matter how easy the opponents are, we just make life difficult for ourselves. It's part and parcel of being a Real Madrid fan at this point. Yeah, man. Why is it this difficult in Copa del Rey? It's the as Sunay said in the group chat. It's the CDR curse. But yeah.
it's not, we can play against, I don't know, someone on the first division in this round, and it will be exactly the same. We can probably play against, I don't know, uh, who is the best team at this moment? Probably Man City or I don't know, Arsenal, and we're gonna play at their level. It doesn't matter how big or small. We're gonna play at the level of the
Of the
opponent.
opponent. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
true. We adapt our game to be as good or as bad as they are. It's just one of those things.
We, if you like like the analogy, we can
Hmm.
say today we play like this pitch,
True.
very barely keeping it together, but somehow we managed
Still
to win the
there.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
true. True.
So uh, if you don't mind, we can start talking about the lineup.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
expect a lot of changes, obviously, because we played Saturday, I think, against Valladolid. Was a very tough game as well, a
Hmm.
very rough game as well.
Yeah.
And for that game, I think we don't have anyone of the same 11. So we start. No, maybe Asensio. I think Asensio start
Yeah.
against Valladolid, but no one else. So 10 different players. Some
Hmm.
of them, like Odriozola, I think it was his debut in this season.
Yeah, we haven't seen him
Completely.
in a long, long time, and I think today's game kind of encapsulated why he's not at his peak fitness, is he? You could see from Odriozola that he's kind of tired, and I don't know, it didn't feel like he was completely back on the pitch, if that makes sense.
I mean, if you're gonna play your first minutes of football in a season, because he doesn't play for obviously for Spain,
Yeah.
and you're played out of position because he's a, a right back. He plays as a left back today, and in this pitch, in these conditions, I mean, it's gonna be rough for him. I don't think he played bad, but like you said, it surely sums up his Real Madrid career. Not not going, not being good enough for the first team.
Yeah.
And then we have like Nacho and Militao. Both of them are contenders to a starting position, so no worries there. And then Lucas Vasquez, who's played regularly. I
Yeah.
think
More or less. I mean, I
the
think we'll see more of Lucas Vasquez at his at the RB position with a lot of rotation with Carvajal, depending on how long our season is. I mean, yeah, I'm expecting Lucas Vasquez to step up and be a regular starter, or at least be a main rotation player, because we can't rely on keeping Carvajal fit for the entirety of the season. It's just one of those things that you can't expect anymore. So yeah, we'll see more of Lucas Vazquez. I thought he was excellent today. One of the more brighter spots in the game today. Even had an offside goal ruled out in the first 20 minutes. So that was kind of nice to see, and to see Captain Nacho step up, be the leader on the pitch, off the pitch. Pretty nice. Can't complain.
yeah, I mean, seeing Nacho is always a good feeling, you know. He received a foul in the first minutes, and
Yeah.
it almost seems like it was a done thing for him, but uh, fortunately was not. Moving to the midfield,
Hmm.
uh, a very promising midfield, a young midfield with Dani Ceballos, Tchouaméni, and Camavinga.
Hmm.
Uh, all of them played regularly. None of them except Tchouaméni is
Proper
an 11
starter, I
every
would
week.
say. Yeah.
Yeah, but for me, it feels like uh, if we struggled in the first half, it was because of our midfield,
True.
because uh, it doesn't seem to work from the passes between the defense and the midfield,
Hmm.
and we jump the line every single time to try to catch Asensio or Rodrigo. We talk about them a little bit further, but what do you think about the first half? Chamonix, it was very bad.
Yeah, there was a lot missing. I mean, it did feel like this was the backup team, if that makes sense. The team didn't click together as we would expect it to. And things got better in the second half because we subbed on a lot of our regular players, and then it started to work because we had a lot of players who would then link up properly, who knew what they were doing, who knew how to read the other players. And maybe at that point, it felt like the team was finally clicking, and that's when the goals came. Even when Rudiger was back on the pitch, it felt a lot more cohesive. It felt a lot more relaxed as a team. They were gelling together. In the first half, we had a string of a lot of missed passes, some attempted back heels that didn't go anywhere. So stuff like that, which was kind of depressing to see. Just putting it slightly, you know. And yeah,
I mean,
it wasn't that much of a you got the feeling that okay, maybe this team has to still gel together the way that we want to make rotations. We didn't see, or this wasn't promising enough to put our rotation players as regular starters, let's say.
but I mean, you can agree with me. The only position that wasn't out of place,
Yeah,
it was it was actually Chamonix,
yeah, that's
because
actually true. Chomini had a stinker.
I mean he was the only player on the, I think, in the starting 11 that wasn't out of place because he used to play like that, in that role. And even that Ceballos and Eduardo wasn't good. I think this game was very, very rough for Chouameni. I'm not gonna destroy him or anything. I think it's probably uh, his second worst game. I mean, I seem to remember a game, I don't know, in La Liga when no one seems to work, but especially him. So if
Hmm.
you have a bad game in a Copa del Rey and you're still winning, so no complaints there.
Yeah, it's
And
the
then,
least. How do I put this? The stakes are low when it's a Copa del Rey for Real Madrid, so he can
yeah,
afford to make a couple of mistakes. I think it was because it was much more physical than he thought, and maybe the whole team felt that it was an easy enough game that you can, yeah, kind of relax a little bit and not do as much, which maybe reflected in his performance the most, or maybe that's what we noticed the most.
yeah, like we said time and time again, we Real Madrid as a team tends to undermine their opponents in the Copa
Mm,
del Rey. It's
true.
always been like that and forever will be. So, moving to the attacking trio, surprised to see uh, these three at the same moment. I would expect, like Sonet said in the chat, someone for Castilla
Yeah.
instead of probably Asensio. I would think
Mm.
it was
It
obvious.
was a big surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, Carleto said that Hazard is going to play this game, so
Mm.
he played.
Mhm.
Well, at least he was on the in
He
the
was on the
pitch.
pitch,
I don't
yes.
know. I don't know how we
If
can
you
say that
define that
play.
as playing, yeah, he was on the
Yeah,
pitch. He also tried some stuff that didn't work out, but then that's part of Hazard's game now, isn't it?
yeah, but once again, if the guy is having a rough patch, you can at least try to put him in his position. He's
Mm.
not a center forward, and once again, he starts as a number nine. Yeah, he rotates with, especially with Rodrigo in the first half. But like I said, if you are gonna jump the line every single time you touch the ball, Hazard is never gonna play as a pivot. It's never gonna work,
Uh,
not in a million years. So the attacking in the first half was almost zero. We didn't create
non-existent, yeah. The
we
only
didn't create
things,
that
at
much.
least the only threats to come out of the first half were through Asensio, which was also a big surprise, to say the least. But I think the thing with Hazard is that we are trying to get him as a backup for Karim Benzema whenever he's out injured. That maybe we are still hoping that we hit a form of purple patch of form, a good run from Hazard that maybe he proves that he can play as the number nine, which a lot of fans have given up on. But apparently, it feels like Carlito hasn't given up yet on making Hazard playing as the number nine, or at least that's how it felt like today.
I mean, for me, it's almost like he's almost trying to prove everyone that Hazard is not a player for Real Madrid.
Mm.
Play him out of position, just uh, put the effort
Ah.
in that way.
Maybe it's a
Because
PR thing, yeah, so that you don't have to renew
you
him at the end of the
you
year.
you can perfectly put him in the left wing
Mhm.
instead of Asensio today and put someone a number nine from Castilla. That would be the end of the debate. But he intentionally created this debate when we can destroy Hazard once again. So for me, it's almost like intentionally put him in the spotlight,
Yeah,
not in a good way.
it could be an anti-Hazard agenda, as you said, or
Yeah,
it can also be that we're giving Asensio a little bit more of freedom, a little bit more of his preferred position to keep Asensio happy, and Hazard is taking the hit for that.
but you want to renew Asensio?
I think so because the only decent striker backup that we have right now is Asensio. Let's face it, at the 80th minute, if everything else fails, you just bring Asensio on and then just hope for a miracle. Instead of having nothing there, I'd prefer Asensio there, yeah.
Because for me, if we as a team don't want to renew Asensio, it doesn't make any sense uh, to play in favor of Asensio instead of Hazard. Because you like it or not, Hazard has contract until 2024.
That's true, yeah.
So if you want to sell Hazard for, like Sonnet said, I don't know, somewhere around 1 million euros, I
It
mean,
won't
Real Madrid
happen.
is
He'll
going to
just
be
run his
probably.
contract out. It
I
just
mean,
never
Real Madrid
happens.
would probably be happy if they uh,
If we
just
get any money,
no, not any money, just don't have to pay the full year of contract that he already have. Like,
that's
don't
also
give me
true.
any money, uh, just uh, just keep me out of the wage because I think he's
Mm.
still the highest earning, only under Benson, I think.
Is he
So
actually? Ooh,
I think
that's
so
tough. That's tough.
because he was given a superstar contract, so you
Ah,
have to eat that. So at least I think he is at least 10 million a year, something like that.
oh,
So
wow.
a- any
Well,
sale for any money would be great for us.
yeah.
But if you don't want to renew Asensio, it doesn't make sense. You need to put someone of Castilla, like
Mm.
uh, we're gonna talk
Arribas.
about Arribas or even Alvaro Rodriguez, who makes his debut. You can do that in the Copa del Rey.
That's
What's the
actually true. I
pressure?
mean, I was expecting to see a lot more of Castilla. I mean, I thought that Zidane had set a precedent with bringing in the Castilla players and giving them some rotation time, prepping them for the main, the starting lineup, or even making it big so that they can get a good transfer, go out on loan, or even go out on a transfer and then come back a couple of years later as a seasoned veteran. But so far, I mean, the thing with the team from the last 2 years is that we don't see much of rotation, especially in the midfield. It's really, 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 really difficult to break into the team at the moment. Um, it's just the manager and his preferred tactics and a preferred team that continuously plays all the games. And with Copa del Rey, you knew that you would be getting the backup team or the second team, and the backup team didn't look as bad, or maybe it did, but we'll get into that in a minute.
I mean, just to round up the first initial thoughts, I think this is the way that Carleto said to the world. I care enough of this Copa del Rey to put 11 players for the first team,
Hmm.
at least in the first half. This is my declaration. Yeah, I know there are rotational players, or some of them are making their debut, but all of them are first team players. So for me, it was like Carleto saying to anyone who's watching, I'm I will try this time my best to win the Copa del Rey because if, I think the last time that we won the Copa del Rey was the last uh, uh, the last time it was in 2014 with Carleto as well. So
It's been a long
almost
time.
8 years had happened. Yeah. So if
That's
you
actually a
can
fair
win it,
argument, yeah. If you can win it, it's just one of those things. If you don't win it, you just don't win it. That's that. That's the end of it. But if you do win it, then it's how do you call this? It's the cherry on top of the cake.
yeah.
Yeah.
I said yesterday with Farouk and Doris, the only reason that we didn't get the sixth title last year was the Copa del Rey. You know,
Hmm.
it,
The
it
one that
probably
was
is,
missing.
yeah,
The
it
one that
probably is
is
the least
continuously missing.
important, is the least important tournament for sure,
Yeah.
but it is still a trophy nonetheless. So at least you should try. Jatu, moving on to the second half,
Hmm.
we changed. for the first time, I think in a long time, I see two substitutions in the halftime. It
Yeah.
was out for Chouameni and Militao,
Hmm.
and in for Rudiger and Valverde, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Hazard who went out?
No, Hazard went out for Arribas. Or no, sorry, for Alvaro Rodriguez. It was
Ah,
Rudiger
yes.
and
So
yeah, yeah,
Valverde came on instead of Chaumini, and Rudiger came in for Militao. That was in the
right,
beginning of the second half, and those are instant in impact substitutions, I would say, because these are proper starters, proper first team players, and then this team slowly started to tick because there were some missing links in the team. As you said, the ball wasn't freely flowing between the defense and the midfield, and then it just started to. And then Fede Valverde was doing Fede Valverde things, being all over the pitch, making sure that the game went more or less our way. And it helped. It definitely helped. The other substitution that you referred to, Javier, was Vallejo coming in for Odriozola, which
right.
appears to be an injury substitution. So that was kind of difficult um, because I want Odriozola to get some minutes because our yeah the season looks long and we need our rotation players. So that was kind of yeah not that great of a substitution to see. Let's just put it that way. And Vallejo, this was one of those games where Vallejo could have shined, but then we know how Vallejo plays, and we expect a certain standard. He didn't go above it, unfortunately. What do you think of Jesus Vallejo? Or let's just say, let's just put it this way: what did you think about the substitutions that was made?
For me, it was almost like uh, 26, 7 season started, change. In terms of both of them are not in the level of a Real Madrid.
Mm,
You know, we
mhm.
sometimes have to change a player that, I don't know, someone like Dani Carvajal and enters Vallejo, someone like that. One of them is first team material,
Yeah,
and the substitution may not be. In the we can talk about this in almost all the positions uh, being not that, like you can either say Bini is our first team player, obviously, but also Asensio and also Rodrigo and also
true.
whoever plays in a right
Hmm.
wing. But
Hmm.
those two, the two left backs for today were not first team material. Not even Castilla, I will say so,
Ooh,
because
rough.
uh, for me, it's a done deal for Odriozola.
Mhm.
I mean, he's young. He knows that he's not gonna play anymore unless we can move forward in the Copa del Rey, or either Lucas Vasquez and Carvajal get injured.
Oof,
And
hard.
and if you are the fifth option as a center back,
Mm.
I mean, it doesn't get any worse than that. I mean,
Vallejo is
today,
one of those stopgap players that you just throw at the end of the game so that the opponents are forced to run.
yeah,
And that's been his role since the last season, I would say. Um, Especially in the Champions League final, if I'm remembering right. He was just thrown there to just screw with the rhythm of Liverpool so that they don't come back into the game. And yeah, Vallejo had a really memorable clearance from our half where he just kicked it to the other half of the pitch, and that was kind of nice to see. But that's pretty much his role, or that's what he's limited to right now. And Copa del Rey might be one of those tournaments where he gets a lot of minutes, and yeah, keep him happy, keep him there for the team, because it's one of those last ditch weapons that you have. It doesn't do much except mess with the rhythm of the other team, which helps in some tactical way, maybe.
and it's probably the kind of player that you can put on the 89 minutes of any game, and he will be probably okay with that. Because you have to, if you can't not do that with Nacho or
Hmm.
even Rudiger. I mean, he's in his first season, but he's a veteran of the game, and you cannot do that to someone like him.
Hmm.
And I think his role, like you said, probably is that. But for me, it's like this is the kind of players that I. This is gonna be hard, but this is the kind of players that no one outside their family is going to go to the store and buy a T-shirt for Vallejo
Oh
or
my
Odriozola.
God. Odriosola's, I mean, I feel like Odriozola, maybe after the injury, is a little bit worse, but then Odriozola had some memorable performances. But maybe that's just me because I like some parts of Odriosola's game. But coming
I
back to
like
what
him
you
as
said
well,
about coming back to
especially when
what
quick.
you fair. Yeah, coming back to what you said about Rudiger, I think one of the reasons that Rudiger's proved more important this season is because, and I think I said this in the last podcast, in the last post match, is because how much of an aerial threat he is in the box, which is something that we've been missing for set pieces since the last 4 years, I would say. Yeah, so that helps cement his place in the team, even if he's not performing as much as we expect him to defensively. Just to have him on the set pieces as a target and to put corners in, amazing.
Yeah. Moving on to the other two players that came in, Alvaro Rodriguez and
Hmm.
Sergio Arribas. It
Oh
was
yes.
the debut for Alvaro Rodriguez in the Real Madrid shirt, and the seasonal debut for Arribas. Arribas has played for us at least, I think, at least 10 times, I would say, in the past few seasons.
Yeah.
But for me, was pretty much in the same regard as the ones that they substitute. Nothing much better than Hazard,
Hmm.
and nothing much than Asensio. I
It
mean,
it could also be that those the substitutes that came on are so young and they played at the level of what we expected from Hazard and from Asensio. Maybe they did really well, and we just didn't notice because of how much of a difficult performance Hazard and Asensio were putting in. One of those things is I actually expected Sergio Rivas to start because it's a Copa del Rey game, and that didn't happen. He was substituted on in the 81st minute, which was kind of surprising because we know that Arribas can put in a shift, and Copa del Rey is one of those games where you give the youngsters chances. Yeah, it's
but
just
you have youngsters and youngsters, like Arribas is the same age as Rodrigo,
is
the
he
man who
actually?
scores. Yeah, they are the same age. They're 20. Both of them are 21. So I mean, you can play the young card all you
Mm.
want, but the fact that you're still playing in the Castilla,
Mm.
and this guy that is your same age has already scored in the semi-final of the
Is a
Champions
UCL
League.
winner. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He played in the World Cup 15 days ago. So I mean, Arribas is good, but let's face it, probably not good enough for Real Madrid. Because if he was good enough for Real Madrid at 21, he will
Hmm.
be playing. And I don't think he was because he's Spanish and we bought Rodrigo for a lot of money, because I don't watch that much of the Castilla.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, he's good for that division, but he's not
Yeah.
been great. If you remember that when Bini came to Real Madrid, he
Hmm.
was a Castilla player, but I mean, he played like probably 3 games, and Solari said, "No, this guy needs to play in the first team."
Yeah. Yeah. True. It could
I
also
mean,
be. I
that's
mean, I'll play devil's advocate here because the Castilla team has actually given us a lot of really, really good quality players. It could just be that Arribas hasn't peaked yet. That doesn't happen as much in the case of a center forward, I admit. But then again, maybe we give it a couple of years. Maybe he goes on loan. Maybe he's by the time we're 25. Maybe we'll be looking at Arribas in a different light, and the Castilla players who went out on loan after they had their debuts with Real Madrid a couple of years ago are also performing quite well in La Liga and in La Liga B. And maybe we see a story like that one way or the other.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
Arribas needs to go on alone for sure. In
he needs to
a,
mature as a player, as a regular starter, get some games under his belt, play in the proper league, which
I will
obviously might
say,
not happen with us. Uh,
I will say, even like you and I are both fans of Borussia,
mhm.
and I mean, he's kind of a
He's a
player
perfect
for
player to
them.
go to Borussia Dortmund. I agree. I completely agree because that's where the youngsters go to actually develop because they'll be getting a lot of limelight, a lot of playing time, and it's one of those perfect youngster grounds, isn't it? We had youngsters like Adeyemi, even Bellingham, etc., developed there. And I mean, Bellingham's a superstar at the moment. The less said about him, the better, especially because I want Real Madrid to go for him uh, in the next
I
available
think
window.
it was my wish yesterday. We make three wishes for Real Madrid in 2023. Was my signing wish because I, like we said time and time again, he's outstanding, but nothing much said because they're gonna increase the price.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx it because it will be one of those Haaland deals where we'll have to pay everything.
Right. So if you want, we can move on to the goal. I
Hmm.
think it was like a breath of air in this mode of a game.
Oh
Uh,
yes.
a great combination between Ceballos, but
Mhm.
probably 80-90% of the goal was
Yeah,
Rodrigo's magic.
a lot of heavy lifting done by Rodrigo. A lot of really good control, a lot of good pace, and especially at that ground, it was kind of difficult. Actually saw a lot of players slipping all over the place, and then comes Rodrigo slipping through players with the ball, which was really really good to see. And yeah, it was a good piece of finishing as well. I mean, he got it basically till the edge of the box on his own and then just put it away. Scored a really good goal. Even the opposing fans were kind of happy to see the goal because everybody was expecting a 0-0 at the end of the day, and we're just happy that that didn't come through.
I mean, was a goal for another game. We can say so. Again,
Yeah,
a goal that doesn't match this game.
yeah, it does not
This game
reflect on
doesn't
the
deserve that goal.
intensity. Yeah, it was a good game. Uh, I felt like this should have been one of those goals where a header or a tap in or a penalty should have been scored, and that would have been it. But this was a wonder goal. It was pretty nice to see. And the people who are listening to us who haven't seen the match, please go back to the YouTube highlights. I can promise you that the whole highlight will be under 2 minutes because there isn't much to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, just replay the
Uh,
goal and be done with it.
Probably a few missed calls of the referee. I will say that probably in terms of the pitch,
Mhm.
it was rough, and a few of the Cacareno players need probably deserve a second yellow card. But I mean, I get why the referee didn't get
Yeah, I
send
mean
them off.
it's yeah. When you think about it, it's Division Four. It's also the refereeing is also. I mean, what can we expect from the refereeing when it's at that point in time? There's no VAR for good or for worse. But I thought the offside calls were pretty spot on.
The
The only
Rodrigo, I'm not that sure. The
it was tight, but then it's also one of those things where human error.
Yeah.
It's a really really tight call, and I can't really blame the referee for that, especially in a Copa del Rey. You can't say much about it, can you? And yeah, overall it was kind of okay, refereeing wise. The yellow cards, I do agree, but then I see why it can't actually happen. I mean, you can't expect that kind of. It's a physical battle at the end,
Yeah.
when you are in the Copa del Rey and you're playing against teams in the other leagues. It will come down to a lot of pushing, a lot of pulling, a lot of elbows when it's a technical battle, when it's a lot of dribbling against really defensive minded CDMs, etc. So yeah,
Yeah.
I can really see why the cards didn't come out.
Right. Just to round up, Jadu, I'm gonna ask you your. I'm not. We're not gonna rate every single player because I don't think anyone exceed or anyone disappoint beyond some metrics. So I'm gonna ask you who for you who is the best player today and the worst.
Hmm.
Starting with the worst, if you want.
Starting with the worst, I mean, I think the answer is kind of obvious, and I think we alluded to it previously. Chaumini had a shocker of a game, but then I don't know. I don't even know why. There's no reason to why he had it. Maybe he just wanted to get rid of that one bad game before he's all class yet again. I hope that's the case. And Chaumini stood out to me as being kind of rough around the edges. Explains why the substitution happened. So yeah, Chaumini, not as well as I had hoped from him.
Right. And the better,
The best has to
best.
be, yeah, the best has to be Rodrigo. I guess the only entertaining part was when Rodrigo got the ball. Usually, even if it ends up in the box, surrounded by five, six, seven players, it was still good to get the ball to him, and that's also how we finally scored. I was also particularly impressed with Lucas Vasquez um, because I knew that on his wing he would have a lot of fights, that he would get challenged. It would be a lot more physical. And Lucas Vasquez held his own. He was also involved in a lot of attacking play in the first half, combined quite well with Asensio. It was really good to see. Yeah. If I'm not saying Rodrigo, then I'm definitely saying Lucas Vasquez.
Okay. So
And I mean, we have to mention Andre Lunin. Lunin did quite well. He wasn't challenged as much because some of the shots really did go wide. Um, Cacareno weren't great at finishing, but they did put up some challenge. I mean, props to them for coming up against Real Madrid and putting in a hell of a performance. We can't take anything away from them. The game looked like it could go into another one of those Copa del Rey classic matches where we choke up and lose to a fourth league team. It could have happened today. It just didn't happen because Rodrigo finally stepped up and said, "Okay, hell no, I'm playing." And yeah, props to Cacareno, man. They did really well. Respect.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, they when they do the drawing, it's
Mhm.
almost certain that whoever plays against Real Madrid, they celebrate because they knew that probably they're gonna be out, but playing with the first division team in your stadium with your fans, it probably is special for them.
It's a
I
big
mean, I can
honor.
imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
cannot
it
imagine.
definitely brings in a lot of revenue from not even TV, from their own local fans as well, from jerseys sold, etc., etc. It's a big revenue stream, even in the Bundesliga. Even it happens here as well, and we see it. The teams drawn against the bigger teams always. I mean, we're putting a spotlight on Casarino even through our little podcast. That's how important it is, and yeah, man, that's always good to
I
see.
would. I only have one opinion on that. If they knew that the pitch is gonna be in this condition, they probably could put the game in another stadium nearby. You know, even a little bit bigger because they knew they're gonna be uh, uh, completely full.
Hmm.
So even if they have to move like I don't know 20-25 kilometers, they can do that. I don't know where Casereño plays. I may be wrong, but there's some ways some sorry always has a stadium nearby that is
Bigger.
in a better condition, not bigger. I don't mind it, the size of the stadium.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, the condition of the pitch, it was rough. You know,
there's
it
also
was
the case that it's when you're playing locally, you always prefer home ground. The stories there, you would have local legends, etc. The story behind it, and the fans are more attached to the club
yeah.
and their stadium, and that's probably it's probably emotional more than it is logical, which I completely understand. Maybe that's why.
But if you have the competition, you need to, yeah, that's very thoughtful and very sentimental. But in terms of the show, it
Yeah, yeah,
wasn't that good, you know,
yeah.
because it doesn't favor anyone,
Mm,
and you can prone injuries in both teams.
that's true.
So unfortunately, no one gets injured. Probably Odriozola, but it doesn't seem like that much of a
Yeah, it didn't look too bad. That's true.
yeah, yeah. So just to round up, I will say I agree with you with the Chamonix in
Hmm.
the regard of the he was the worst for today, but I will change the one for me the best one, at least in terms of passion and
Output.
unwillingness
Hmm.
is Danny Ceballos. For me, he
Oh,
played the
surprising.
whole game. Yeah, he
Oh, he
tried.
did. He actually did. He actually
He
really,
tried
really
and tried
tried.
and tried again.
Yeah.
All the game
Hmm.
for me was I mean I would probably give him a 6 or 6.5, nothing
Hmm.
much than that, but shout out to Danny.
That's actually a really good
Jadu,
point because I think Danny Ceballos is the highest rated player in the whole team for the match, which speaks
mhm.
volumes to how he did. Yeah, makes sense. He was all over the pitch. He was everywhere. That's actually true.
Okay, Jadu, just to round things up,
Hmm.
I want to talk about, if you want, about our next few games.
Yeah,
We play,
we'll go really quickly through them.
yeah, Villarreal this Saturday.
Ah, Villarreal.
Villarreal was, I mean, it's a good team, but they seem to be struggling ever
Mm.
since that Emery left. I
Hmm.
think the only winning this past weekend. So the first win in I think in probably like 2 months.
Is it actually? Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were struggling very much,
Mm.
and then
I mean,
Super
Villarreal
Copa.
had a big win today against Cartagena, which is also a much lower level opponent. But then they put Cartagena away 5-1, which was an impressive showing. So maybe they come into the match with that confidence. So it's on the 7th, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's on the
Saturday,
Saturday. Fair
and
enough. So that's in La
we
Liga.
play in La Ceramica, which has always been a very tough uh, stadium for
Yeah,
us.
yeah. Hmm.
So then we go to the Super Copa of Spain
Hmm.
against Valencia,
Oh yes. I mean, talk about
and
struggling opponents, right?
yeah, this Gattuso Valencia is no joke. Another
Hmm.
physical team, and if we won, we should contend for the Spain Super Cup, the first title of the 2023 year, not
That,
season but year.
yeah, that's actually true. That's a good point. I mean, to start with winning the Supercopa is always a good way to go. Valencia are currently 10th, if I'm not wrong, in the Liga, and I mean, we expect a tough showing from Valencia because it's one of those cups that can go either way. Because it's a Super Copa, it gets a little bit unpredictable for us because all the teams that are in there are trying their best to win it and stop bigger teams like us or even Barca or even Atletico from winning it. So yeah,
Yeah,
you put
and
up.
especially Valencia. Valencia is one of those teams that hates us.
Mm.
They absolutely hate Real Madrid.
That's true.
Yeah. So yeah, I expect another battle, and then we can move on to the last two games of January. It
Mm.
will
Then
be
we have a bit of a rest before the next two games, don't we? We have like a
like
gap
a
of a
weekend.
week, yeah, more or
Yeah.
less.
And
Hmm.
it doesn't get any easier because uh, we played against. Athletic Club de Bilbao
Ah,
in Bilbao.
horrible. Athletic Club has been doing really, really well. They're fifth in La Liga at the moment. I mean, based on points, they are sitting a little further behind, but they're performing much, much better than anybody, even them themselves, expected them to. And it will be a tough showing because it's Bilbao, the less said, the
Yeah, yeah.
better.
And then we end this month
Mhm.
against the other Basque team,
Ah,
Real
Sociedad.
Sociedad.
Real Sociedad sitting third, sitting pretty, sitting ahead of Atletico Madrid. They're just below us in the table, 9 points below us in points, but a really, really tough opponent this season. Might be really tough to get past them. So, a lot of games coming up, a lot of tough games coming up for the month. We just started, we barely started 2023, and this is what we come up against. Quite,
Yeah,
quite poetic.
if we somehow manage to be alive and the end of January, it doesn't get any better in February
Yeah, the
because
whole set of games that come before the end of the season is completely mad. We'll have a mad UCL campaign just the same as last time. Let's just hope that we can shut the main loud English media up just like last time and just pull through, I guess.
yeah, yeah. Well, you do. I think we can wrap this up. It was a very nice doing the live with you. I mean, it's
Yeah. Oh,
our
just before
first
we
live.
just before we end, Javier, there's Ashik B in the comments. Ashik is saying
Ah,
highlights more like highlight other than the goal. It was the same as watching paint dry. I agree, Ashik. I mean, there's
that's the perfect
nothing
description.
there's nothing to take away from this game. Like I just mentioned it a couple of minutes before. I was just telling Javier that the highlights of the game will be like less than 2 minutes because there's nothing. You can run the intro and then you can show the goal and then we can just end it there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thanks Ashik for being in the chat as always. Shout out to you.
Okay, so Jadu, if you don't have any left to say, let's ask our viewers to subscribe, to like this video, to share this video. Like we said yesterday, this is the start of this new year, the start of the second year of the podcast, and we'll try to be better this time as our team keeps performing every from now on. I think it's almost 2 games a week at least.
We
So
are here week in and week out, guys. We are
yeah,
here every game, pre-match, post-match, during the match. I mean, whatever you want, we're still here. So yeah, stick with us. Show up in the chat. Let us know you're watching. DM us on Instagram, Twitter, wherever, and leave a comment. Tell us you're here. Tell us what games you'll be watching. And yeah, let us know. But before we leave, shout out to our partners on Instagram, Real Madrid Committee. They've been partners for more than a year now. They've been keeping us updated with stories, with posts, etc., etc. Shout out to them before we go. And yeah, Javier, take it away, wrap it up.
so nothing much to say. Let's wait for the preview of the game. The game is on Saturday, so expect the preview around Thursday or probably at the latest on Friday. So at the post match, obviously, after the game against Villarreal. So, a la Madrid, guys.
Hala Madrid, and peace out.